Hey everyone, Robin from Backscatter here. I'm very excited to share that Olympus has finally revealed the highly anticipated TG-5 tough camera and underwater housing. The TG-5 is the next generation of the massively popular TG-4, and it carries over a lot of the same features that we loved from the TG-4, like the microscope mode, plus it's got a host of new features like 4K video, a new sensor with better image quality and low light performance, and manual focus with focus peaking. This is sure to be one of the best underwater compact camera systems of the year. The TG-5 can capture 4K 30p video, 1080 120p video, and it captures 12 megapixel raw stills at a maximum 20 frames per second. Of course, it's still waterproof down to 50 feet. Thanks to our favorite feature, microscope mode, the TG-5 remains the king of macro with one of the highest reproduction ratios out of any camera currently on the market. With this camera, there is no subject that's too small to shoot. You can see there's a slightly larger hand grip, plus a new design to the zoom lever, and the addition of a new control dial on top. These make one-handed operation feel a whole lot better, and the control dial gives you an entirely new way to adjust your settings. This top dial is not customizable or reprogrammable, but it defaults to the function you'd most want for each shooting mode. Most of the time it's going to act as an exposure compensation dial, but for example in aperture priority, it'll select your aperture. When in manual focus, it can also be used to adjust the focus distance. Now the TG-5 is still waterproof to 50 feet, it's also shockproof, freeze-proof, and crush-proof, so it really does earn its tough title. This also makes it perfect for just snorkeling or playing around in the water, even without a housing. One of the most exciting new additions is the ability to shoot 4K video. The TG-5 will capture 4K video at 30 frames a second. It can also shoot 4K time-lapse footage. The TG-5 will also be able to shoot 1080 video, of course, but now it has an increased frame rate. You can now capture up to 120 frames per second when shooting 1080 video, so you can pull off some really cool slow motion shots. Keep in mind that when shooting 4K and the new 1080 120p frame rate, it's going to require a UHS-1 Speed Class 3 SD card. There is in-body image stabilization in the photo mode that works up to 2.5 stops. When shooting video, the TG-5 uses digital stabilization, resulting in a slight crop of the image. You can see here how the image tracks on the screen as the camera attempts to stabilize it. The TG-5 also gets a big upgrade when it comes to still shooting. This camera can capture 12 megapixel raw stills, and it shoots a maximum of 20 frames per second burst with a 14 frame RAW buffer and unlimited JPEG buffer. The new processor makes these enhanced video and still capabilities possible. In fact, this is the same processor found on the flagship EM1 Mark II camera, so this is a really cool and powerful under-the-hood upgrade for the little TG-5. There's also a new Cmos backlit sensor, which leads to major improvements in image quality with sharper images and improved low light performance. This new processor also helps improve button response time, which means less lag when exploring the menus or changing settings. The TG-3, 4, and now the 5 have all really been defined by their incredible microscope mode and the ability to capture outstanding macro images. Because of this, we are seriously excited about the addition of manual focus mode with focus peaking. You can now shoot this camera in very much the same manner as a mirrorless or an SLR by moving the camera in and out from your subject to see the focus peak before snapping your next shot. Now keep in mind, you will have to be in manual focus to use the peaking. It's not going to work with the autofocus. This is going to make capturing that critical focus point when shooting macro so much easier to execute. Olympus has also included highlight and shadow warnings. These can be activated for live view, playback, or both. This feature will be mostly useless when shooting with a strobe because the strobe exposure is only shown after the image is taken. But if you're shooting with video lights, you can easily judge your exposure before even taking the picture. Another very exciting feature, and something else carried down from the flagship EM1 Mark II, is the Pro Capture mode. And this feature is basically a pre-roll, allowing you to capture images before you take a picture. When activated, Pro Capture mode is going to start buffering images based on your settings anywhere from a half a second to 10 seconds upon a half press of the shutter button. Now, these images are not writing to the SD card, but they're just being buffered through the camera's internal memory. Then when you actually press the shutter button fully, whatever images that were buffering are also going to be written to the card. The idea behind this is to help capture that crucial action moment. So if you're just a split second late when some interesting subject behavior is on display, you still have an opportunity to capture that shot, even if you're just a little bit late. The major drawback to this feature is the inability to synchronize with strobes, so it really hasn't been something we've used too much on the EM1 Mark II. Now with the TG-5, however, you can more easily shoot with a compact video light, thus eliminating the need to worry about synchronizing due to the constant source of the video light. And we've yet to spend a lot of time underwater with the camera, so the underwater white balance capabilities still need a little bit more testing before we have any comprehensive results. The TG-4 did really well underwater, so we're very hopeful for the TG-5. Actually capturing a white balance is a pretty simple process, though you do need to be in a photo mode to capture a white balance. All you have to do is scroll over to a custom white balance bank, hit the info button, and then hit the shutter button to capture it. There are 4 different custom white balance banks, making it easy to have them set for different depths or shooting with or without video lights. There's still an underwater mode built into the camera, but we're gonna have to do some more in-water testing with the system before we can give you a full breakdown on it. This setting is usually meant just for ambient light shooting, such as when you're snorkeling, so if you're shooting with strobes or a video light, you'll typically get better results from one of just the normal shooting modes. You'll also notice there's a new lever on top of the camera as well. This is the log lever, and it activates the field sensor system, which you can use to view your GPS location data, altitude, or depth info. And while these features won't work in the housing and GPS won't work underwater, you can still use them to take a quick shot topside and mark your dive location with GPS accuracy. There's also a new movie mode added to the camera, meaning you can adjust your quick settings just for shooting video instead of having to tweak one of the still shooting modes like before. You can also still record video from the regular shooting modes, but you will have to rotate the dial to movie mode in order to shoot in 4K and the new high-speed 1080 120p frame rate. This also means that there's no 4K video in Microscope mode, which is a bit of a bummer, but it's not a total deal breaker for us, because the camera still shoots 1080 60p in Microscope mode. The TG-5 has a new locking button on front for the available accessory lenses from Olympus. While you can't use these in the housing, there's a host of accessory lenses that the TG-5 can use when shooting topside or just by itself. You've got fisheye and teleconverter lenses, along with a few others. Now this new lock button really does help hold them in place. For snorkeling and just everyday topside use, this is a nice little improvement. Overall, the menus of the camera feel and look more like the pro-level Olympus mirrorless SLRs, so it's really nice to see this implemented in the TG-5. These new menus are super easy to navigate and find whatever setting you're looking for quickly. You can also toggle on-screen help and function descriptions for each setting with the info button. Now that we've covered most of the new features of the camera, let's talk about the housing. The underwater housing will be the PT-058 model, and it's mostly unchanged from the PT-056. Since the TG-5 did get a new body design, the housing interior will be new as well, making it not cross-compatible with the TG-4, and vice versa, you can't use the TG-5 in the old TG-4 housing. A small detail with a fairly major impact is the redesigned fiber optic cable mount. Now you can hook up dual fiber optic cables right to the housing without the need for a third-party adapter. The housing also includes rubber bushings for naked fiber optic cables, so it's more external strobe compatible than ever before. There are controls for the new log lever and the top control dial on the housing. The log lever probably won't see much use underwater, while the control dial is really convenient and easily thumb accessible. You'll also notice a slightly taller shoe mount base for mounting an accessory like a focus light. Now this is a small detail, but you'll notice there's just a slight recession right behind the shoe. This is going to accommodate an adapter's locking tab. Now, most people probably won't even notice this, but this little feature can mean the difference between losing your light or not if that mount should rattle and come loose. There's still a 52mm threaded front port which you can use for attaching a wide-angle conversion lens like the UWL-04, making true wide-angle shooting just a few twists of the threads away. You can also still run the screen magnifier accessory from AOI, making it easier to see your LCD screen in bright sun and to get a crisp, magnified image to work from. If you've owned an Olympus underwater housing before, you're going to find yourself right at home thanks to the consistent and reliable design of the PT-058. The bottom line is that we are straight up stoked about the TG-5. Between its 4K video, high-speed 1080 video, the improved low light performance, image quality of the new sensor, the fact that it's waterproof to 50 feet without a housing, the microscope mode's insanely powerful macro, and professional level features like focus peaking, the TG-5 and the PT-058 housing is definitely going to be one of the best underwater compact camera systems of the year. To learn more and to order your TG-5, just give us a call here at Backscatter, or you can visit us online anytime. You can find a link to our TG-5 page right below in the video description. I'm Robin from Backscatter signing off. Thanks for watching and happy shooting.